What is going on, guys? Lawson here. I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday? Friday? I think it's Thursday. I got a haircut, as you can tell, but that doesn't really matter right now. What we are doing today is going to go over my rod arsenal. I get a lot of requests, people saying, hey, update it, because last time I did it, I think I had like 10,000 subscribers, so that was a while ago, the last time I updated my rod and reel breakdown. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to talk a lot about what each rod is for, not just say, oh, this is a Shimano Stratic, this is a Shimano Sustain. I'm going to talk about what I use it for, everything kind of what goes into it, why I own these rods and reels. I have a lot of them, so we're going to hop into it right now. So I'm going to start off with freshwater because I only have like 2 reels that I actually dedicate really just to freshwater, and I'm going to go over them. And I plan on doing a lot more bass fishing this year during the winter and colder months when the snook bite kind of dies down. I'm going to do a lot of bass fishing and a lot of redfish, probably is the deal. But first setup, this is like my flip and stick and frog rod kind of combo. This is a Johnny Moore Signature Series reel. It's a really great reel. I've had it for like 3 or 4 years on a heavy action loose flip and stick, 7'6" right here, and then I have 55-pound braid on here, and I'm probably gonna put some new braid on here and go to 65 to be honest. And so this rod, I love using it for throwing frogs. It's one of my favorite things. You know, with frogs, you want a really stout rod, and you want a decent length so you can get some good distance on your casting, and you want to have just a fat backbone and some heavy braid for cutting those fish out of grass and pulling them out of the water and just turning their heads up. And that is what I love using this rod for. I primarily throw frogs and topwaters on it, and then occasionally when I do flip, I don't do it very often, is great for making a punch rig on here as well. You can see my handle is pretty much black on it from my gross nasty hands, and it's just a white rod, white handles. I have gotten this thing dirty from a lot of use. Moving on. Alright, setup number 2 here. This is a Calcutta 201B, this beautiful little golden reel. And I originally bought this for saltwater actually, and I used to use it a lot in saltwater, but I decided not to use it in saltwater because I started having the problem of getting some corrosion issues and this making a lot of noise whenever I'd use it in saltwater. So I decided to just designate it for freshwater, and I do a lot of different things because, you know, a lot of people, like, I haven't dropped thousands of dollars on setups for bass fishing, and a lot of bass fishermen, they have a rod just for crankbaits, a rod just for jigs. They have a rod for pretty much every lure. This one I do a lot of different things on it. This is a G Loomis 7'1" medium extra fast rod, so it has a insanely flexible tip right there. And so I use this for throwing light Texas rigs sometimes, just kind of get a really good feel with it, and throwing lighter Texas rigs, and then I'll throw little crankbaits and stuff like that on here as well because I have 17-pound fluorocarbon. And it's just kind of, it's not an ideal setup for really anything, but it's great all around for me when I want to use fluorocarbon. So if I'm fishing clear water and I want to throw a Texas rig, clear water for Florida, you know, I put this on. If I want to throw a light jig, I'll put it on. I want to throw a little rattle trap or a crankbait, anything like that. This is great. Jerk baits, stuff like that that you like to throw fluorocarbon on, and I didn't want to spend a ton of money and have, you know, alright, well here's my 7'6" extra fast medium light rod that I'm going to use for throwing crankbaits, and it's like, alright, well now I need a medium rod for throwing jigs and stuff like that. Just something kind of all around is what I wanted with this, and it's great for now. I think this reel is going to get updated very soon, where I'm going to get probably a Corrado or maybe a Kanan, something nice. I don't know, but this is a great rod. I love it. The reel, I will say, is not ergonomically designed. It is a pain in the ass to hold on your hand all day and fish with this. But that's our best setup. Moving right along into saltwater, this I use for both. And I'm going to go from smallest to biggest, I think, in terms of setups. This is my 1000 size Shimano Stratic right there. Little cute baby girl reel on a G Loomis E6X 6'10" mag light rod. This thing is my microlight setup. I think you guys saw it in a video I posted maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I was doing some micro fishing and hooked a bunch of little tarpon, caught some massive bluegill and some tilapia and stuff like that. I bought this originally for the intention of fishing dock lights for snook, and this thing is a lot of fun, but if you hook a snook over 20 inches, they're even gonna give you a hard ass time on this setup right here. But it's a great setup. I've talked about in videos before, I'm like, this is my setup I'm most spiteful about buying because It is probably one of the most expensive setups I own, and I use it the least, and it's kind of a waste of money. You don't need this expensive of a micro light setup. Alright, this is a 3000 Shimano Sustain, probably a reel I use the most out of anything. And then I have another bait caster I use in saltwater that I use a ton too, but the Shimano Sustain 300 is one of my all-time favorite setups right here. And I just have it on a 7-foot medium light Gander Guide Series rod, like a $40 rod, and I've had this rod for like 3 years and I love it. Got 15-pound braid on here, and normally rocking 30-pound fluorocarbon. It depends what I'm fishing for. Sometimes when I'm fishing freshwater, I bring this reel with me and I'll use it to throw really light trick worms and just really light stuff. But normally with this, I throw a lot of terrorized for tarpon and smaller baits, but I catch a ton of fish on this. I've caught 38-inch snook on this little 3000 size reel, and this rod right here, it does work, and it is a great little setup. So I use it for throwing small things like DOA shrimp or artificial shrimp, small little like jigs like I have on right here, small twitch baits, jerk baits, anything smaller size that you're using for tarpon and snook, and then like I said, for bass as well. So this is a setup that you guys probably saw a lot in some of my older videos. This is a 4000 Shimano Stratic, and I loved this reel. Unfortunately, it is like completely busted and the handle won't even turn anymore. And so I need to have it repaired, or it needs to go in the garbage can. And then I have it paired on a St. Croix Tidemaster 7-foot medium heavy rod. But this is actually a gift from the man John B himself. When I took them fishing one time, he gave me this rod. Super nice of him. And it's 20-pound braid, and I normally rock 30 or 40-pound fluorocarbon on it. This is what I used to use for throwing all my top waters and heavier swim baits, like medium range swim baits, like 5 to 6 inch swim baits. I would use this all the time. It is a great setup. Unfortunately, the reel's busted, so either gonna replace this reel pretty soon or get it serviced. And now this setup right here is something that you guys probably see me use a ton now. This is my Shimano Strength 300 with a left-handed retrieve and a power knob on it, and then it is on a 7'6" medium heavy 13 fishing Omen. And this has become probably my favorite setup I've ever owned. I freaking love this thing right here. It's got a huge giant power knob, beautiful reel, it is super comfortable to use, got a stout rod on it. I basically have used this to replace my 4000 Stratic that I used to use all the time. This has become like my baby, and I throw my top waters on it, I throw swim baits on it, bigger swim baits. I throw everything on this, from jigs to swim baits, top waters. It is just one of my favorite setups I've ever used. Rocking 30-pound braid on it, and I typically run 40-pound mono on here a lot of times. And I use mono because I'm typically throwing a lot of bigger top waters on this, and mono is great for top waters. It just depends. Like right now, there's 30-pound fluorocarbon on it because I was peacock bass fishing the other day, and that's even almost overkill for peacock bass. But this thing is so freaking killer. You know, I use it for everything now. And people even give me a hard time, like, why don't you use any of your other reels anymore? I'm like, because this thing is the freaking baby, dude. Yeah, this is probably my favorite combo I've ever owned. The rod, I'm not much to say about it. It's just a medium heavy rod. You could pretty much replace it with any company, any brand, but I've enjoyed this rod for the most part. But then the Shimano Tranks, it's been awesome. All right here have my 6000 Saragossa, Shimano Saragossa. This is a beast of a reel. It's like perfect for big jack, medium-sized tarpon, if I ever catch them, and like black-tipped sharks. It's what I designed and what I built this combo for. So it's 6000 Saragossa on an 8-foot mag-heavy Gene Loomis Inshore series rod. This rod is a freaking tank, and so I designed it for throwing just big plugs typically, and just launching big plugs 100 yards and for doing surf casting. I've caught kingfish, tuna, giant jack, sharks, big snook. No big tarpon yet. That's one thing that this baby needs to get. But I've caught a lot of decent sized fish, and it's meant for catching big fish. That's what I designed it for. I use it a lot for throwing live mullet. It's got 50-pound braid and 60-pound fluorocarbon on here normally when I'm running either fluorocarbon or mono. This is a awesome setup for bigger fish. And the piece of resistance, one of my favorite setups. Oh God, I jammed it straight into the roof. The piece of resistance, one of my favorite setups of all time. This is my Calcutta 400 with a power handle I put on here on a mag heavy G Loomis swim bait rod. Got 80-pound braid on here, and I'm typically running 60 to 80-pound fluorocarbon on here. I use this thing for throwing giant swim baits, just really heavy lures, so just big swim baits, big jigs, and for throwing monster-sized live mullet. This reel has caught me some giant freaking fish, for sure. It is probably one of my favorite setups. I don't get to use it all the time just because there's not a ton of application for it unless you're throwing a 10-inch swim bait or you're throwing a 10-inch live mullet. But this thing has seen its fair share of donkeys over the past year or so. This is one of my favorite setups ever. It doesn't get enough use just because, like I said, it's not always applicable, but when I do use it, I freaking love it. The Calcutta 400, it's been a good reel. It's starting to get a lot of noise and a lot of corrosion, so it's time for a good servicing on it. Or maybe soon enough, if I'm hitting the jackpot, I might upgrade it to a Shimano Strengths 400 just because I love my 300 Shimano Strengths, but this has been an amazing setup. So that basically covers all the reels that I actively use in my videos that you guys see a lot. There's a few that can make appearances sometimes, like I know I had a video where I was fishing in the Keys and I was using some of the Shimano TLDs I have laying back there. They're just big Shimano 25 TLDs that have 80-pound mono spooled on them, and they're great just for bottom fishing and trolling, stuff like that. But that can be for a later date. So that is the rod and reel arsenal. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I appreciate the heck out of you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it's a little different, but I felt it was necessary. A lot of people have been asking for me to update the rod and reel arsenal. So there it is. There you have it. I appreciate the heck out of you guys. I hope you have a great day. Until next time.